All right, so it is early. It's like a little bit before 5 o'clock on Friday morning, the 9th. And I feel like I had to record this. Actually, I was feeling like I needed to record it earlier, but anyway, I didn't do it when I initially was feeling the way I was feeling. So I ended up having another night where, for the most part, stayed up all night, getting frustrated because even though doing that, I've realized that I accomplished pretty much nothing. I'm kind of spinning my wheels. The plan was to list things on eBay, which I didn't do, and I got into trying to make my listings perfect and all this kind of stuff rather than just doing it and then fixing it. And of course, I was trying to I had some people that were supposed to look at a set of drums that I'm trying to sell that they had car trouble and couldn't make it, and then I had someone looking at a desk that I was trying to sell that they didn't want to buy it when they saw there was a little more damage to it than they were thinking, and actually more than I realized also. So so I was frustrated with that, and it ended up I had other stuff going on when I got home from work. Um, my son's open house for middle school, and then I had to go to the storage unit to show the people the stuff. And so by the time all that was over, it was about 8:30. So that already put me starting off pretty late and working on doing anything. And then I just kind of sat there, just stared at the computer screen, and was having a hard time getting myself to do anything. And so one of the things that I was thinking about this morning is, the whole 10x thing. Um, I think I'm kind of get that going to a certain extent, but right now it's kind of sometimes 10x time and not 10x actual action or things that are helpful. And so yeah, obviously it's something I got to work on. But one of the main reason I was wanting to do this morning, or that I know I needed to do, because I'm wanting to capture kind of where I'm at and the things I'm going through as I'm in this whole process of, I have a number of months to get all this stuff going, and I'm not giving up on getting and being on my own. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of challenges on the way, and I think that's part of what, not part of, that needs to be what is here as I'm going through this stuff and how I'm dealing with it and all that kind of stuff. So as you're going through stuff on your own, that you can see, for one thing, you're not the only one going through this kind of stuff, that it's kind of more normal, especially when you're trying to live by faith. I even think you go through more things that other people would go through. So I'm sitting there after I had all that experience, and I'm sitting there, and it's, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, I listed nothing, I accomplished nothing. Then I have the dog goes and poops on the floor, and nobody took the dog out, and then the dog barks to want to go outside, and my son is still up at late, and he has some youth event that he has to do tomorrow. So all these things are going on, and I'm just like getting completely ticked off, because I'm like, I'm already accomplishing nothing. It's like early in the morning. I haven't got any sleep because I've been staying up, but I've accomplished nothing while I'm staying up. And then I'm ticked off because of the dog, and I'm ticked off because I'm getting distracted because my kids are arguing with each other and all this kind of stuff. So, and then in my mind, what I'm going on is I'm getting overwhelmed with all of these thoughts and all these things. Is is just completely like desperate thoughts, which I've dealt with them before, so I know, it's not something that I really spend a whole lot of time paying attention to, although I would in the past really dwell on these thoughts. Um, there's a whole lot that gets into it when it comes to what I'm getting ready to say, but a lot of people put a lot of different spins on it and a lot of different views. And I'll kind of explain it after I get done saying. I got to kind of make this quick because I got to finish getting ready for work. But anyway, the whole thing is I start thinking the thoughts of, my life completely sucks. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? Kind of like I have no friends, I have no support, I'm having no fun. I hate my job that I'm doing. My business isn't going very well either. My money situation's terrible. I have no relationships. I have no friends. I do, but it's like I don't really have anybody that I regularly talk to or whatever because I got too many things going on. And I have plans of why I'm doing things I'm doing, but oftentimes when you're doing that, it also leaves you alone as you're trying to achieve not just goals, but achieve the things that God's called you to do. It ends up having you on your own a lot at times as you're really in the throes of getting things going. And then it's the thought is like I just feel like that. It's like, why am I here? And, the thought of just kind of putting an end to all of it is something that kind of goes through your head. It's not something that's like you're seriously thinking about, but it's just something that goes through your head. And to, I know that's the flesh that does that. And when you realize that makes a whole lot of different, a whole different conversation when you realize spiritual warfare and stuff like that. If you never deal with it or familiar with that, it's a real thing. And when you can separate those sorts of things, and I think everybody deals with spiritual warfare. Just people that aren't of faith and are not really familiar with spiritual things are not spiritually discerning to know that that's what's happening. And it's even worse because then they just think it's their own thoughts, which is not a good thing. But and then they go to a psychiatrist or whoever, and then they go and analyze it and all that kind of stuff. But when you realize that you don't have to, when you can take your thoughts captive, and then you can sit there and kind of think about it and sit and pray about it and just meditate on what's going on, that that's not what's happening, that's not what you're really feeling, knowing that it's just the overwhelming part of everything that's going on, which actually you're making it bigger than it is to begin with. But I've dealt with this a lot in the past, so whereas it seems pretty extreme in my head that I'm thinking these things, the emotion and I guess it's more of the emotion than it is with my thoughts. The emotions are thinking, this is ridiculous. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? This is all a waste of time. I need to just end it and all this kind of stuff. And this just seems so extreme, except for now it's not quite as extreme for me. And I can kind of calm myself down and get through where it's like, really things are not that bad. And it's just crazy when all that starts happening and when you catch it and realize that this is really way out of bounds. And I was already pretty angry and stuff with dealing with the dog and all that kind of stuff earlier, which kind of added to it. But I just think it's important to know that, one, it doesn't mean that you're crazy because you're thinking that. It doesn't mean that you need to go to the psychiatrist. It doesn't mean that you're, this is real. It doesn't mean you need to be on medication. I mean, none of those things are the case. And especially when you're in the throes of actual spiritual warfare, that's the kind of stuff that happens. And especially as you're trying to, and I even, if I'm not mistaken, remember hearing about Martin Luther, which obviously he accomplished a lot in the church. But spiritually speaking, or as far as living in the Spirit and stuff like that, in the Catholic Church back then was not like something that they really did or practiced or really talked about. So, and I know that they said that he dealt with depression and dealt with suicidal stuff. I guess it was suicidal thoughts, but dealt with a lot of depression, up and down and up and down, dealing with all the spiritual warfare he was doing. But he didn't know what to do with it. He didn't, where they were with scriptures and stuff at the time, and it was just very selected, and they were just doing what they were taught. And he was one of the first ones to really spend time reading the scripture to see what it says for himself, rather than just what somebody told him it was. And that's kind of where the whole Protestant Reformation came about. But kind of along those lines, you see that great people that really sought after God or really did great things, really was moved the world in different ways, especially for the faith. Went through some serious spiritual warfare, and oftentimes they didn't even know what it was they were dealing with. But when you know what it is, when you're dealing with, when you know that it's your flesh and the spirit dealing with it, and also knowing that we're of the spirit and our flesh is dead as born again believers, that you don't have to listen to it. That's like a big thing of all this, is knowing you don't have to listen to it. And of course, this was a good reminder for me that I don't have to listen to it as I'm getting in the throes of it. So just a quick video that I think is important of this whole journey that I'm going through, of all the different things that's coming into play, of the things that I'm trying to do, the things that I'm accomplishing, or right now a lot more of lack of accomplishing. But you're seeing kind of firsthand what I'm feeling, because I just was dealing with this just a couple hours ago or an hour ago, and I just was like completely overwhelmed at the time with everything, and really angry. And of course, my really angry now is nothing like my really angry used to be in the past, so which is a good thing. But it was a lot of times like this that I dealt with, but then I didn't deal with it quite the same, and I've learned to deal with it, and I've learned to discern those things. I've learned to know what it was and what it is now, which really is a huge help. So anyway, I'm sure this will be helpful at some point. If it's not helpful right now, just knowing that somebody's out there that's something experiencing some of the same things, that you're not crazy. This is all part of this journey that we go through, especially as we commit to surrendering our lives to being obedient to Christ and to following in that direction, or if we're just thinking about those sorts of things. This kind of stuff is going to come on. You can start finding out how real this really is, and in that it's really something that can be overcome. This life is something that is meant to be overcome, that we are meant to rule and reign in Christ, and that, I mean, everybody, whether you're a Christian or not, that's what you're designed, that's what you're created for, is to rule and to reign. That's where we were created, and we were made in the image of God. And just to take those steps, one day at a time, and that's what it's all about. And continue to shake it off, when things go wrong, and realize that they're tests, they're trials, they're different things that just make you stronger as you're going through them. They just help you to grow and help you prepare for the next thing that's coming along. And so anyway, hope it helps. And like the message, or like this video, if you obviously want to get people watching these and get people interested, and hopefully other people that are enjoying these like you are, getting value out of it, will want it. The more likes I get, the more that's going to help do that. And that's it.